Hello and welcome back to a long overdue episode of Knights of the Podcast, presented by Take 3 Productions. I am your host, Chris Skywalker Dohmen, and here with me tonight, I got a guest who you've seen his face plenty of times on Take 3, but I figured it's time to get him on the show because why the hell not? He's a huge Star Wars nut like me. So with me,
yeah.
I've got Ryan McLellan. How's it going, man?
It's actually going pretty well. We've had a pretty good week getting some stuff ready for the channel, and now we're working on this. I'm excited. Ready to talk Star Wars for sure.
Damn right, because who doesn't love Star Wars?
Stupid people.
Yeah, so, if you guys are familiar with the show, we're going to start off with a little bit of news, then we're going to, talk with Ryan for a little about some Star Wars, and then we'll end with something fun. But first things first, we're just going to take a little bit of time to talk about some news. Brought to us by the great guys at MakingStarWars.net. I got turned on to these guys through Collider Jedi Council, and my God, they bring just nothing but great pieces, great articles. And this first one comes to us involving The Last Jedi. So, allegedly, Frank Oz got in a little bit of a controversy, if you will, because he straight up said, he's not going to be in The Last Jedi, but it's the way that he said it that has fans everywhere just clamoring, hoping that we actually get some Yoda in the movie. Now, the exact quote goes like this: "I feel like I'm a prisoner at war here, and I can only give you my name, rank, and serial number. To be true to the people who asked me, and they are kind of my family, I have to say that I have been asked not to talk about it. I love Yoda. I would be happy to talk to you about it at the time, at the time they let me." But Ryan, does that sound like he's at least involved in the film in some way?
It sounds like he knows something, whether it's having to do with Yoda. I'm assuming he's got dude's been with Star Wars forever, right? Basically.
Pretty much.
He's such an influential figure in the Star Wars fan group, fandom, whatever you want to call it. So I think that he's in touch. Whether or not he actually has a scene as Yoda in this movie, it's hard to say. Based off what he's saying, he knows something, but whether or not that has to do with Yoda or whatever, my guess is even if he was in it, they would tell him not to talk about it. And if he wasn't in it, they would still tell him, like, hey, we don't want to spoil it one way or another, so don't just don't say anything. But I will say, when I read this, I was like, okay, it gives me hope. I'll say that. It gives me some hope that we might get some Yoda action in there. But I kind of have mixed feelings. I don't know if I want to see Yoda in there. I liked what they did with him in The Force Awakens, how we just hear his voice, and it was kind of like a cool nerd moment where I was able to just geek out about it for a second, but I didn't have to see him or anything like that. I'm nervous how he would look, because I'm assuming they would do CGI, and even if they did a puppet, I'd be nervous with how that looked, because we saw what it looked like in The Phantom Menace originally. So I think keeping Yoda out of it for now is probably smart. But I have mixed feelings on this, I guess.
I also have really mixed feelings myself. Now I don't know if this is going to be like in Rebels, how in season 1 we actually heard Frank Oz for the first time, and that was jarring for me on 2 levels. One, because I had just come off of watching the Clone Wars, and so I was hearing Tom Kane do the voice, and then again, twofold, because we only heard the voice, and I'm like, I don't know if this is working for me. But, then we saw him in season 2, and we actually saw Yoda, and it actually kind of, it started to work with me a little bit more.
Right.
But, to be fair, it was in a very small dose. And I feel like if he is in The Last Jedi, it should only be in a small dose.
Yeah, it'll be like one scene with him as a Force ghost or something like that. I don't think it'll be any kind of major involvement.
Yeah, definitely. Which brings us now to our second story and our last one for today, which is apparently the beautiful city of Fuerteventura is setting up some sets for on-set location for the Han Solo film. This was brought to us through a local newspaper, La Provincia, that provided the story, and making StarWars.net, took it from there. This doesn't sound like anything special, but it's what is said in the actual article itself, and that, granted, this is in the middle of nowhere, and it has a very Old West sort of feel to it. Now, Ryan, is that the kind of vibe that we're looking for in this film, or do you think maybe it's a little too on the nose?
It could be a little on the nose. To me, like, I always get reminiscent when I see a sandy, dusty planet in a Star Wars movie, just because it brings me back to A New Hope. And to me, I think it's exciting to see them getting ready. They're going to be shooting on location. And also too, we had Jakku in The Force Awakens. So there's a lot of sandy, dusty planets in Star Wars lore. So I think they're just kind of keeping with that, and it's cool to see them gearing up, because it makes it feel even more real at this point that they're working on it. We're going to be seeing this movie, and I think that we could get maybe a kind of a space western vibe in there, because Han Solo has always had that roguish nature that a cowboy or something, some sort of outlaw might have. He's a space outlaw, essentially. He's a smuggler. So, yeah, I think that could be fun if we get sort of a Western vibe, maybe towards the beginning, if that's, his home planet or something along those lines. Yeah, it could be really interesting.
Definitely.
But I just like the confirmation that they're actually getting started here in a little bit. So.
Oh, right? Amen. Because even though I still have mixed feelings about the idea of the film in general. But between the cast announcements left and right, and between, just hearing that it's actually shooting, I'm like, you know what? This does make me excited, even if I still have mixed feelings about the film itself. I will say, though, I really hope that this, Western and space thing, I'm not sure if I wanted to go out throughout the whole film. If it's just like maybe in the beginning, like the first 30 minutes, perhaps, then I'd be set. That would be a great way to start it off, So, but that's just me personally. Now
if it's something like at the beginning where you just kind of started off with that tone, and then it kind of carries the rest of the movie where it doesn't have to be so noticeable, I think that could be a really interesting way to set it up. So, yeah.
Yeah, totally. Well, so now we're going to take it away from the world of news, and we're just going to focus on you. Unintentional rhyme there. I know that was pretty bad. So, Ryan, how did you get into Star Wars?
Well, actually, Star Wars is my first memory, because when I was about 5 years old, my dad, I was just like, I don't remember what I was doing, but just like one day he's like, "Oh yeah, do you want to see these really awesome movies?" And I was like, "Sure, I'm a 5-year-old kid. I'll watch anything." So he puts in the first VHS, and I just remember the scene where the stormtroopers open the door and they step through, and then Darth Vader stepping through, and it was instant love at sight, love at first sight for me, because watching that, I think we ended up we watched A New Hope, then we started Empire Strikes Back, and I remember actually we ended up having to stop it because we had to go to church. And I remember just like as a little kid, like, oh, I can't wait till we get back and we can finish these Star Wars movies. Yeah, I didn't know what was going on at church. I just wanted to watch more Star Wars. And then just growing up, I'm surprised that those VHS tapes, they still play. I still watch them because thankfully they don't have any of the stupid special edition stuff on them. So yeah, I'm surprised those VHS tapes still play, because my brothers and sister and we just wore those things out. We used to watch them all the time, and we would watch A New Hope. I keep calling it the first one because that's how I think of it. But we would watch A New Hope, and then, it would be like arguing, like, all right, who's going to see if Mom will let us watch the next one? And then we would watch Empire Strikes Back, and it'd be like, all right, now who's going to see if Mom will let us watch Return of the Jedi? And so, like, we would always have to have a little argument, like, who we were going to send off to go ask Mom if we could watch another movie. But yeah, there are a lot of days spent watching the entire original trilogy. And I remember too, when I was younger, we We had like the Lego games, and I had a bunch of actual physical Star Wars Legos that I loved, and all sorts of different books. I didn't read as much canon stuff as I know you have, old canon stuff. Sorry, extended universe stuff. But there was a lot of books that I would read. Some of the ones that had to do with like Boba Fett when he was a kid, and they weren't good books, but I didn't care really. When I was 10 years old, I would just read everything Star Wars that I could get my hands on. But yeah, basically ever since I can remember, I've just loved everything about it. I mean, it's great storytelling. Even when it's not that good, it's still really fun for a little kid to watch. I mean, Pod Race, that was so awesome as a kid, and Attack of the Clones, even though I know now it's a piece of crap, I loved it back in the day. I mean, Natalie Portman was in it, so yeah, I was just loving every second of it. Anything Star Wars, I would watch.
But okay, bouncing off that for a second. You mentioned not really getting into books, but you did still did get into some of that. So when Legends was still what we considered canon at the time, what of that stuff like really stood out to you? Like anything in particular?
Yeah, there were a couple specific ones. A lot of it usually had to do with things that would either precede like right before the prequels, or things that would come like right after the prequels. Like, for example, the books that had Boba Fett, like what happened to him right after, like during the end of the Clone Wars, and then like right after the Clone Wars. That was actually a decently interesting series when I was younger. And then there were quite a few books out there that would talk about Qui-Gon when he was a Padawan still. And there were some cool books regarding that I would read. And then the ones that I've liked the best, and these are actually still to this day my favorite Star Wars books, and I know we were talking about it the other day, is the Republic Commando books. Those were some badass books, and I'm a little bummed out that they're not canon, but it makes sense because there was a lot going on in there, and it's just easier to just wipe it all out. But what I love so much about them is they showed clone troopers actually being badass, and they weren't just a gimmick. It didn't, like, they felt like they were to me in the prequels. They actually moved and as an effective team, and they were doing all these missions and stuff, and it made the Clone Wars interesting to me. So yeah, those Republic Commando books, I loved those. I still do. I still read them every once in a while, but not as much as I used to. But yeah, I would read a lot of stuff that had to. I never got into what I know you read, like Heir to the Empire, right? Like taking place after Return of the Jedi. I never got into any of those books. I think just a lot of them came out before I really got into the Star Wars books themselves. So
yeah, no, that's actually really interesting. Because growing up, I did also read a lot of Clone Wars era books, and even though the films surrounding the wars, admittedly not that great, but but what is it about that era that just made it so interesting? At least for you.
Yeah, I think I was kind of looking for something to make that era interesting overall, just because, like, as a kid, I always liked the original trilogy the most, and I would still enjoy the prequels, like I said, for a lot of the action and stuff like that. But I always wanted more backstory to it. I wanted to see the interesting stuff, and like Qui-Gon, I always really liked him when I was younger, and we never really got anything from him, obviously, because he dies. So I was looking, the books that showed him as a Padawan. That was interesting to me because you kind of understand his psyche, and and actually there were books out there that also had Count Dooku as a Padawan, because unless I'm very much mistaken, in the extended universe, they were Padawans at the same time. So there's a book, a trilogy of books, I think it is, where they work together when Count Dooku was still a good guy. And to me, like, that was always more interesting than Count Dooku being a bad guy. It was like, all right, like, what was he like? He was just this arrogant dude that, never really got along with Qui-Gon Jinn. And I was like, okay, that's actually pretty interesting, because it gives me more context for these characters, and it did a lot of cool world building. So yeah, I think it was just that era. I mean, that's what the movies were still coming out at the time as well. So yeah, absolutely.
Oh, dude, no, I'm trying to remember what that trilogy was like. I'm trying to remember who wrote that, because I did. Yeah, I know. I read one of those books. I wish I could remember so I could go back and really dig into them again.
Yeah, I still got them at home somewhere.
Oh, nice. But then now with the current canon stuff, Clone Wars, Rebels, and the books, post 2014, how much of that have you been getting into?
I've seen the first two episodes. Oh, yeah, the first two seasons of Rebels. I'm right here in a little bit. I'm going to try to get started on season 3. I just haven't yet, but I'm excited to see what happens with Thrawn. The season finale of season 2 was so incredible. Oh my gosh. Yes. Just with Darth Vader coming down on top of the TIE fighter.
On top of a freaking TIE fighter. That was just
such a badass shot. And then the battle with Ahsoka. Yeah, that was a really awesome episode. So I'm excited to see where season 3 goes. I know I'm behind, but I'll get caught up eventually. And then actually, I haven't read a whole lot of the new canon books, but I have read Lost Stars, and I freaking loved that book. Holy cow. That movie. Well, that book was so good. It feels very cinematic.
Who are we kidding? It's a movie with words.
Yeah. And the way that Claudia just weaves it all together, and the two sides of the story, and the fact that it is a love story at the same time, which a lot of Star Wars has been based off of that love story in the past. Sometimes it's just as simple as that's your starting conflict, is that you have these two characters that love each other, but they're separated by war because it's Star Wars, and then you just go from there. And she did such an awesome job of building on to what already existed and then creating her own bits of canon at the same time. And I think that's why I like that book so much, is because a lot of times I think that as Star Wars nerds, and we're all guilty of this, it's a lot of times we do get too caught up into what's canon and what's not. And like sometimes it's just as simple as just tell me a good story. I don't need you to bring Lumpy back. I don't need you to tell me what happened to Jar Jar Binks. I just need you to tell me a good story that's interesting and exciting and has some lightsabers or some TIE fighters or something in there.
Fair enough. That is more than fair enough. And speaking of getting so caught up that some people tend to take it a little overboard, I like to ask this question to everybody I have on this I have come on this show. In your opinion, what is the biggest FU to the fans of Star Wars?
Ooh. Well, I think that there's a lot of things that happen in Extended Universe that were kind of stupid, but I think probably the biggest thing of all time is just George Lucas making shitty prequels. Well, all right, and let's say you do like them, because obviously some people, Chris, do like them more than others. So, and that's fine. But I think that if you look at it and you see the steps that George Lucas took to make these movies, is like he basically just said, I don't give a crap what the fans want. I'm doing what I want to do, which as an artist isn't necessarily a bad thing to say, but he messed up big time. He messed up big time. And actually, that actually leads me to what I think is the biggest you, though, and that's adding stuff in the special editions. That was the biggest you. And then not making the originals up available, like saying that no, you're never going to see it the way that you want on Blu-ray. That's horrible. I love Star Wars so much, and you're telling me I can't even watch the movies that I love in high definition without, oh, well, in order to be able to see it, I'm going to put in a bunch of stupid 1997 CGI that you're forced to watch. Like, that's so stupid to me. Like, I understand wanting, having a vision and wanting to achieve that vision, but then forcing your fans to adhere to your vision when for the past, at that time, like 30 years, they've been loving what they already had. It's just, I think that was actually the biggest you, saying, yeah, I'm going to do what I want to do, even though I know you all hate it, and I'm just going to put a bunch of shitty CGI over these movies that you love.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Got a little heated there. Sorry.
Oh, dude. Well, this is a Star Wars podcast, for God's sakes,
true.
man. Go all out if you need to. I mean, and to be fair, yeah, we've talked about this before, and there are some special edition changes that I hate, and there are some that I actually like, but there
are some that aren't so bad.
and to be fair, it's kind of a balancing act, because unfortunately, for every 2 or 3 that I like, there's about 3 or 4 that I can't stand. And
better to just leave it alone at that point, because it's already, I think that Empire Strikes Back is pretty much a perfect movie. So just leave it that way. Just leave it as it is, because it's such an incredible movie. You're adding stuff on, and thankfully that's the one he added the least to. But any addition, I had already seen those movies damn near 100 times, it must have been. And then to add stuff on, because I didn't find out about the special editions until 2012, thankfully, just because I never really paid any attention to what was going on with that. I didn't really care. And then when I went to go buy them on Blu-ray, when they came out on Blu-ray, I was watching and I was like, wait, why is this not like I remember? And that was what made me so mad. I was like, I've had it ingrained in my head a specific way for years, and then you're just going to go and change it, and it ruins the experience. I mean, whether or not it makes it better, it just ruins the experience, because you know it a specific way, and you want to experience it that specific way again and again and again for the rest of your life.
All right. That was actually a pretty cool discussion. I mean, again, you're not wrong. This is one of the rare instances where you and I actually completely agree.
True, yeah. A lot of times on Star Wars, we're not on the same page.
And again, that's actually some great points you're bringing up. Now, so now we've gotten to some of the negatives. I do have to ask, if gun to your head, you had to pick one specific thing about Star Wars that is your favorite.
It's Darth Vader. Like, the character that I love the most is Darth Vader. So, I mean, you can pick like just about any scene. I mean, I do, and this is, I'll show you where my conflict is, because it's between either the very first scene where he enters onto the Tantive 4, or it's when he's fighting against Luke Skywalker in Cloud City, because that's the action is pretty simplistic. And if you look at it now, it's not anything too crazy, but just the exchange, and obviously the classic, "No, I am your father," and
hey, he said the line right.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. It's just such a classic scene, and Darth Vader is, as far as I'm concerned, he is the best villain, the best written villain, the best acted villain. I mean, James Earl Jones just kills it, and David Prowse too, who did a good job with the physicality. So, yeah, Darth Vader is by far my most favorite part of Star Wars. And if I had to pick gun to my head, I guess I would say the battle on Bespin. So yeah, I love that lightsaber duel. Plus red against blue, it's so cinematic. It really is.
Classic case of good versus evil, and it's all defined by the color of your lightsaber. But
exactly.
But that's the odd thing about it, though, is that for something that has gotten some criticism in recent years because it's too simplistic. Well, you know what? You all can eat my because that is if you're going to do a simplified storytelling, that is the masterclass. That is the bar that is set. That is the example to follow, and that everyone has tried following, and they suck at it.
Right. Not everything has to be Darth Maul doing like 3,000 flips before he hits one strike with his double lightsaber. Like, you don't need a gajillion things to. And that was why I honestly really liked the duel between Rey and Kylo Ren, is because it was very simple. It was very simple. It didn't have to be anything crazy or a bunch of flips and force pushes and kicks and all that. It was just a simple lightsaber fight. And it also, at the same time, it showed emotion on both sides, and it was just way more interesting, I think, than any of the lightsaber battles in the prequels. So, but that's just me. Known prequels hate.
Well, yeah, no, and dude, again, as I said before, you're allowed to have an opinion. That's what makes Star Wars so great, is that no two opinions are the exact same.
And everyone's so passionate about it too, which is that's why I love the community of Star Wars fans, is because we all have our opinions and we're so passionate about it, but at the same time, at the end of the day, we're all on the same page that Star Wars is amazing.
Right? And yeah, we can go 12 rounds on which film had the best score and yada yada yada. But the fact of the matter is, this one movie that came out in 1977 sparked an entire fan base. It started fandom as we know it, and that's why, yeah, it I can't talk right now because I'm that just like. If I could just shoot Star Wars like Force lightning out of my fingers, I would.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that would be my favorite power. Like besides having a lightsaber, I would totally learn how to do Force lightning.
Oh well,
absolutely.
There went that question. Thank you.
All right, that's right. I forgot you're supposed to ask the questions.
Oh, dude. Again, at this point, we're just having a discussion. That's awesome that it's impacted your life that much. Seriously. So
yeah, absolutely. Been with me ever since I can remember. Yeah.
Same with me, and I hope to God it never leaves.
Christ, yeah, seriously.
If possible.
I'm so happy they're making movies again.
Me too. Because again, say what you will with the prequels. When they were done, I honestly thought that was over. I honestly thought that part of my childhood was now going to die, and I would have to actually move on and become an adult. And now, screw adulthood!
You could be a child again.
Exactly.
And that's what it felt like seeing The Force Awakens for the first time. I was like, wow, I feel like I'm a kid, like back in the theater watching Attack of the Clones or whatever. But actually, this was a better movie, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, childhood all over again, 100%.
Exactly. Yeah. Actually, that pretty much is how it was because I went to see it with my folks. And,
nice.
That... It just felt so right because, and I took my dad to see Rogue One. That's part of our bonding experience. You know what? Hold on. So you mentioned when you were a kid that you and your family all watched Star Wars together. So was that basically your bonding experience as a family growing up?
Yeah, pretty much. My mom is the only one who's she's never been a huge Star Wars fan. Like she'll watch them and she likes them okay. But yeah, as far as like, I'm the oldest of all the kids in my family. So it was my dad and we watched it first. And then, yeah, just growing up as my dad had 4 more kids. My parents had 4 more kids. I'm the oldest of 5. So yeah, we would all just on a weekend or whatever, sit around and put a Star Wars movie in and watch it. So yeah, absolutely. And then my brothers and we all had Star Wars Legos. My sister, she had her Star Wars action figures. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. We all had Star Wars. It all affected all of us in some way or another for sure. And then when The Force Awakens was released and Rogue One as well, like that, thankfully they release it around Christmas now. So that's when the Army lets me go home. So I get to go home and see them. And then we watch whatever Star Wars movie is in theaters. That's what we've done the past 2 years now, past 2 Christmases. So I love it. Yeah. Going to see Star Wars movies with my family is definitely something that brings us together.
Awesome. Seriously, that's awesome. Well, I mean, yeah, so I think that's going to about do it for at least the, the discussion / interview portion of the show. And now we're going to come on to something I've been dying to do since the last episode. A little section of the show called Once More with Feeling. So what Ryan and I are going to do now is we are going to reenact a scene from a Star Wars film, one of his choosing because he's my guest. And the first time we're going to do it totally serious, totally legit. And the second time, we're going to do it with a gimmick of our choosing. It's all totally on the fly. It's going to be a lot of fun. Ryan,
neither of us are classically trained, so
exactly. So this should be interesting. So we are doing the scene from Star Wars Episode 6: Return of the Jedi, where Luke has just surrendered to the Imperials, and it's him and Vader at the landing platform having a conversation. Now, Ryan, you're going to let out your inner James Earl Jones, aren't you?
I'm going to try. I don't have nearly as deep of a voice that he does, but I'll see what I can do with it.
Then do not fail me for the last time, Ryan.
Hey, I'll do my best, bro.
Sounds good. All right, Ryan, Take it away.
The Emperor has been expecting you.
I know, Father.
So, you have accepted the truth.
I've accepted the truth that you were once Anakin Skywalker, my father.
That name no longer has any meaning to me.
It is the name of your true self. You've only forgotten. I know there is good in you. The Emperor hasn't driven it from you fully. That is why you couldn't destroy me. That's why you won't bring me to your Emperor now.
I see you have constructed a new lightsaber. Your skills are complete. Indeed, you are powerful, as the Emperor has foreseen.
Come with me.
Obi-Wan once thought as you do. You don't know the power of the dark side. I must obey my master.
I will not turn, and you'll be forced to kill me.
If that is your destiny.
Search your feelings, Father. You can't do this. I feel the conflict within you. Let go of your hate.
It is too late for me, son. The Emperor will show you the true nature of the Force. He is your master now.
Then my father is truly dead. Nice!
Nice. Yeah, I think we did pretty well with that one, not gonna lie.
That was pretty good.
I like
yeah.
that. That's
Yeah.
such an awesome scene. It's hard to mess that one up because that's actually really good writing right there. I love the writing in that scene.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's one of the... I mean, well, Jesus Christ, Lawrence Kasdan, I mean, he hasn't really done that much wrong.
No, seriously. And he knows how to get the tension from the scene, too. And there's a lot of emotion in there as well. So, yeah, I love that scene.
Exactly. So, that was awesome. But you know what, guys? I think we gotta try that once more.
With feeling?
With feeling. So, we're gonna do that scene one more time, but we're gonna do it with a gimmick of our choice. Ryan, do you got a crazy idea you want to spew out there?
I think I can do it in a Scottish accent, so we'll see. I don't know.
So
I'm gonna do my best.
So we go from me doing Anakin in a Scottish accent. Now Ryan's gonna do Anakin in a Scottish accent.
Oh yeah, there you go. I didn't even think about that, but yeah.
Oh shoot, what am I gonna do? Because I suppose I could just do a Southern accent for Luke.
That would be awesome. Oh my gosh.
I suppose that'll just have to work. Because
I'll-
if I'm not mistaken, you work down in North Carolina, right? That's where you're
Yeah, I'm
stationed.
down here in North Carolina.
Exactly.
That is where
So-
I'm at. I like it.
All right.
The Emperor has been expecting you.
I know, Pa.
So, you have accepted the truth.
Well, I can't read, but I accept the truth that you were once Anakin Skywalker, my father.
That name no longer has any meaning to me.
Well, that right there is the name of your true self. You only forgotten. I know there's good in you. The Emperor hasn't driven it from you fully. That's why you couldn't destroy me. And that's why I won't bring it to your Emperor now. Plus, he can play the banjo. I can't.
That's awesome. I see you have constructed a new lightsaber. Your skills are complete. Indeed, you are powerful as the Emperor has foreseen.
Why don't you come with me, Pa?
Obi-Wan once thought as you do. You don't know the power of the dark side. I must obey my master.
Oh, well, hell, I can't turn evil. You'll be forced to kill me.
If that is your destiny, aye.
Well, search your done dare feelings, Pa. You can't do this. I feel the conflict within you. Just let go of your hate, like Jesus told you.
Nay, it is too late for me, laddie. The Emperor will show you the true nature of the Force. He is your master now.
Well, and that there, my father is truly dead.
Oscar-worthy performance, absolutely.
That was
That
beautiful.
was awesome. That was a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be.
Oh my gosh,
Oh,
yes.
awesome.
I miss doing this show.
Yeah, this is awesome. Nobody can accuse us of never having any fun with it. That's for sure.
Exactly. So, with that, now, Ryan, unfortunately this week, we saw on the Fan Movie Trivia Schmodown, things didn't quite go your way. Do you want to talk about that for a second?
I suck at movie quotes. Yeah, I suck at movie quotes, and that ended up being a big issue for me. And the IMDb round, I'm not gonna lie, I'm very disappointed with how I did in the IMDb round. I should have had it. I should have had heat. There's no excuse really. I'm just gonna have to come back and try again because I'm not gonna stop trying. I'm not a quitter. I was never raised to be a quitter. So I'll be here until the bitter end. And if I go the JTE route and just lose like 27 matches in a row or some shit, I'm still going to be here just being annoying and just losing. Someone's got to win, or I'm sorry, someone has to lose to someone. So I'll just be the loser all the time. And I'll take that. I'll take the title of most losses. I don't care.
Well, first off, I do see another member of our inner circle taking that title before you do. So you're good in that department. But
maybe. Was Evan DeGraff?
Well, maybe, but here's the thing, though. You do have a chance to come back as a winner. Maybe not as a singles player, but in the upcoming match that you and Case are doing against Greg Phillip and Lucas Schildbach. Even though this is completely not Star Wars related. It is, however, the Harry Potter match. So tell me.
Another big fandom.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Well, to be honest, I mean, both are huge fandoms, so and a lot of crossbreeding. So
yeah, absolutely.
You're just trading magic on Earth for magic in space. So
essentially, yeah,
pretty much
hokey religions and all that.
Exactly. But how do you think you and Case will fare against your opponents?
Case Cornelesa and I, the Death Eaters, I think we're gonna fare pretty well. Actually, he knows his Harry Potter. He can quote things, as we have seen. He knows some quotes, and he can definitely quote Harry Potter way better than I can. So he's got that covered, and he knows characters and stuff like that. And I'm pretty familiar with a lot of the back behind the scenes stuff. So I think we're actually going to do really well. We complement each other well. I've never seen Gregory Phillips in a match. I don't think he's had a match yet. So he could be a total dark horse with this. Maybe he's watched the movies more times than I ever have or Case ever has. But Case has seen them a shit ton of times. I've seen the movies a shit ton of times. So I think we're capable. I think we're going to take this, to be honest.
Okay. Well, that's... I wish both of you best of luck. Obviously,
we're the home team.
Yeah, well, as the home team, but also, as the judge and guy who does the theatrics, I just want a good match. So.
Oh, you'll have one. You are going to have one.
Awesome. Are you afraid, Ryan?
I don't know where you want me to go with that. We've decided I'm not good at quotes.
Damn it. I was hoping to go into "You will be." You will be. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but all I can think of is "Don't fall asleep. Don't fall asleep."
Greatest
song that's basically
ever.
The only way I can think of that one now. That's all I can think of now. But great scene, great song. Seagulls, Yoda. Look it up on YouTube if you don't know what the fuck we're talking about. And you're not a true Star Wars fan until you've seen it.
Amen. Well, that ought to do it for this episode of Knights of the Podcast. Ryan, where can the good kids find you on the interwebs?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Clan McLellan. That's Clan McLellan. Goodbye, guys. Thanks for having me, Chris.
Hey, man, it was definitely a pleasure. You guys can see him this Friday on the Take 3 podcast, first live streamed episode. I'm forward
excited
to it. Yeah, me too. For Take 3 Productions, I am Chris Skywalker Dohmen. We will see you at the next episode of Knights of the Podcast. May the Force be with you always.